Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is back, everyone, for a little more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Guys, I just realized StreamYard's been having audio problems today. Can you guys verify for me that you can even hear me? Back office, can you hear me? We good? Okay, good. All right, looks like we're good. I'll tell you who done messed up, folks. Danny Masterson's appellate attorneys done messed up. It was quite a show. It was quite a lineup in Judge Olmedo's courtroom today. You had Diddy's attorney, SHAWN HOLLEY. You had her co-counsel in the Danny Masterson trial, Philip Cohen. You had the Menendez brothers' attorney, Cliff Gardner. You had Brock Turner's attorney, Eric Multhaup. And the ones who actually ended up being on the hot seat were Danny Masterson's appellate attorneys, not his actual trial attorneys. And that was Eric Multhaup and Chris Gardner. This was a hearing to get to the bottom of how in the world Danny Masterson's appellate attorneys and their investigator managed to contact the jurors of the second Danny Masterson trial that found Danny Masterson guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and sent him away to prison for 2 consecutive life sentences. And the judge had sealed all of the jurors' records after the trial, and yet that did not keep the defense team's investigators from finding out the identities of these people and visiting them at their homes. These people did not understand how anyone even knew who they were. They sent in complaints to the judge. The prosecutors found out about it. The prosecutor asked for an evidentiary hearing. He wanted sanctions. And today's hearing was not the evidentiary hearing. It was basically a WTF OMG hearing to determine for Judge Olmedo to determine what she was going to do. There was a lot of interest in this hearing this morning. The LA Times was there. Rolling Stone was there. Lisa Bartley was there. 2 of the Jane Does were there. And so I want to start by actually just sharing you some of the excerpts of the LA Times article, and then I'm going to give you some direct observations from the hearing. Okay, so LA Times, judge refers to Danny Masterson attorneys and their private investigator for discipline over contact with jurors. Okay, let's zoom in on this. Okay, we got James Queally reporting 2 attorneys for Danny Masterson and a PI could face disciplinary investigations for their conduct toward jurors after the disgraced actor's rape conviction. A judge ruled on Tuesday. Judge Charlene Olmedo, who earlier this year wrote that she was troubled to learn that members of Masterson's legal team contacted jurors at their homes and workplaces, said that she would refer attorneys Eric Multhaup and Clifford Gardner, as well as private investigator Linda Larson, to state regulatory bodies for disciplinary investigations. In a September court order, Judge Olmedo wrote that several jurors had been the subject of unwanted contact at their homes or work by members of the defense team, and noted that the jurors had asked her to inquire how the defense team obtained their identifying information. At the end of the Masterson trial last year, Judge Olmedo sealed all identifying information about the jurors. But on September 15th, a member of Danny Masterson's habeas team appeared on the lawn of one juror and tried to interview her, according to an email that juror sent to the court. Eric Multhaup told the LA Times last month that his investigator, identified in court as Linda Larson, contacted the juror to interview them as part of Danny Masterson's appeal of his rape conviction. The lawyer insisted the investigator's conduct complied with state law. Before I get on with the rest of the article, I just want to direct you guys to an actual video shared with me by one of the jurors of Linda Larson showing up at their home. And all of this was captured on the Ring doorbell video recording. And some of the audio is a little tough to follow here, but I wanted to share this with you because I showed it in a video a few weeks ago, but here it is.
How can I help you? Who is it?
Linda Larson.
Linda Larson.
Oh, I was here to talk about the Masterson
Okay, I'm not
case.
interested. I'm not interested.
I'm sorry?
I'm not
I couldn't hear you.
interested.
I'm sorry.
Case.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, that I know that video was a little hard to follow. I think the audio tracks were slightly on top of each other in the original recording. There is another photograph here of that another juror shared with me of Linda Larson making an unannounced, uninvited house visit, and another photo shared with me by yet another juror of Linda Larson making an unannounced and uninvited house visit. And you'll notice that even though Linda identified herself twice there, she never said who she was with, why she was there, and that the person had no obligation to speak with her. And you might go, well, maybe she didn't have an opportunity to say all of that, but the Judge Olmedo had something to say about that. But we'll get to that in due time. Okay, back to the LA Times here. Okay, Judge Olmedo disagreed that the investigators' conduct complied with state law and chastised Eric Multhaup on Tuesday, saying the investigator failed to warn jurors that they had an absolute right not to cooperate with Masterson's defense team. She also questioned the appropriateness of investigators contacting jurors directly at their homes. Eric Multhaup declined to say how Larson found the jurors. What? Can you believe that? So, I mean, I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but the judge very specifically asked the attorney, how did your investigator find out the identities? And the lawyer actually refused to answer the question. Okay. Multhaup declined to say how Larson found the jurors other than to credit her years of experience as an investigator. Now you guys know my position on this. Scientology knew the identities of all of the jurors right from the jump. They have people sitting in because you have to be in the courtroom to even know who is a juror, right? When you walk out, the courthouse is absolutely packed with jurors from every courtroom on every floor. You have to have agents in the courtroom to visually know who the jurors are. There's no heightened protection in place for jurors. It's very easy to follow them out of the courthouse. It's very easy to follow them back to their cars, write down license plate, do background checks on the the registration. Anyone who knows how to do background checks or knows PIs who do background checks, once you get a person, it's very easy to eventually track down everyone in that person's life, people who have shared addresses, people who are relatives, all this stuff. Scientology knew all these people identities. So even if Linda Larson wasn't able to figure out who they were based on her years and years of experience, believe me, Scientology already knew who they all were. And Scientology's defense team and Danny Masterson's defense team have already been proven to be working with each other anyway. Okay, so yes, he credited her years of experience as an investigator. He confirmed that she'd obtained the names and contact information of 6 jurors, but did not disclose how many she contacted at their homes. By the way, Diddy's attorney, SHAWN HOLLEY, who was Danny Masterson's defense attorney as well, has admitted to appropriately and ethically contacting and actually having conversations with and meeting in person 3 of the jurors. 3 of the jurors, okay? And the fact that Multhaup confirmed that Linda Larson had found the identities of and contacted 6 of the jurors mean that at least 3 of these people had their identities discovered by unapproved, unethical means, at least as far as Judge Olmedo would define that. Okay, let's see. Larson did not respond to a request for comment Tuesday. She's a former journalist who runs a Pasadena-based investigations firm for more than 25 years. LA County Deputy District Attorney Reinhold Mueller called for a sanctions hearing and told Judge Olmedo he believed the court had an obligation to find out how the jurors' personal information was accessed. The jurors are left wondering how their contact information got out there, and we're not able to assist them right now in explaining how that occurred. I think it's important that we get those questions answered. The judge, however, said she was limited in what she could do because Masterson is appealing his conviction. The judge said the court was not an investigatory body and denied the request for a hearing, but referred Eric Multhaup and his appellate co-counsel, Cliff Gardner, to the state bar for a disciplinary investigation. She also referred Linda Larson, to be investigated by the State Bureau of Security and Investigative Services. Nice. Outside the courtroom Tuesday, Multhaup declined to comment, and Cliff Gardner has said that he repeatedly has had no contact with jurors, and none of the jurors' emails suggested he did anything improper, kind of throwing his co-counsel under the bus there, if you ask me. Shawn Holley and Philip Cohen did nothing wrong. Holley previously acknowledged that she contacted the jury foreperson in the case. Okay, and then it gets into some of the details about the Danny Masterson case. I want to very briefly share with you some excerpts from the Rolling Stone article because it has some very nice additional details. Danny Masterson's lawyer scolded by judge for tacitly coercive juror contact. Okay, let's go down here. At a tense hearing in downtown LA, Judge Olmedo ruled that she simply lacked jurisdiction to order such a hearing while Danny Masterson's conviction is on appeal. Okay. She called the interaction with the jurors tacitly coercive and said that it remains a mystery how the appellate team managed to identify approximately 6 jurors who served on Danny Masterson's, on the jury for Danny Masterson's trial. She concluded the hearing. I'm sorry, as she concluded the hearing, the judge said she planned to refer Danny Masterson's 2 appellate lawyers to the state bar's attorney discipline division for further investigation and action if necessary, and that she would also contact the State Bureau of Security and Investigative Services to report the private investigators' alleged actions. After the hearing, one of the Jane Does, who Danny Masterson was convicted of raping, said the same private investigator had reached out to people connected to her personal life. Quote, I found it objectionable. These are people who had nothing to do with the criminal case. I'm being contacted by these people who are saying they feel harassed. That's incredible. That's the first time that's been reported in the press. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for other additional details here. Okay, on Tuesday, Reinhold Mueller, the deputy district attorney who prosecuted Danny Masterson, said that he reviewed all of the anonymous jury questionnaires from the trial, and he could not understand how the appellate team identified the jurors beyond the foreperson who willingly gave some identifying information about her job. Danny Masterson's trial lawyer, Shawn Holley, attended the hearing and shared with the court some of her personal communications to prove that she only had cordial and voluntary post-verdict communications with the foreperson. In a prior declaration, Shawn Holley told the court she met with the foreperson for a lunch in Santa Monica shortly after the trial ended. She said the foreperson put her in touch with 2 more jurors. Okay, so that's what I said before, that 3 of the jurors, it's understood how they were contacted. Judge Olmedo said from the bench on Tuesday that she received a follow-up email from the foreperson on November 19th, 2024, in which the juror wanted to clarify that her contact with Shawn Holley was perfectly appropriate and with her consent. Now, I think it's interesting that 3 of the jurors were more than happy to be in contact with the lead attorney for the defense team. And I'm just going to speculate that perhaps these were the 3 jurors that voted not guilty for the charges Danny Masterson was facing against Jane Doe 3. Remember, he was found unanimously guilty for the charges he was facing against Jane Doe 1 and 2, but it was not unanimous for Jane Doe 3, and therefore there was a hung jury on those charges, and that charge was dismissed. So I think it's interesting that 3 people were cooperative and willingly in contact with the defense team, but it seems that the other 3 were not cooperative. Those are the people who were not willing to have their information shared, and those 3 jurors seem to be the jurors for which all of these complaints are relevant to. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The investigators, the foreperson wrote in an email read aloud by the judge, the investigators' tactics were harassing. As she showed up to private residences, we all wondered how she found out where the various jurors lived and worked. And she kept showing up, which is a form of intimidation in our opinion, as we continue to communicate via group text. Very interesting. Okay, some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff is obviously a repeat of the previous article. Here we go. In one particularly tense exchange, Judge Olmedo pressed Multhaup on what happened with the juror who was approached at her home while doing yard work last September. Olmedo said the investigator failed to follow protocol and first informed the juror that she had a right to stay silent. Multhaup told the court that the juror interrupted the investigator before she could give the admonition. He said his investigator said, "Thank you," and walked away. The judge says, "No, she didn't." She said, "So you declined to participate?" In the same breath that she said, "So you declined to participate," which implies there should have been some participation. She should have said, "You have an absolute right not to talk to me if you don't want to." Judge Olmedo called the investigator's response tacitly coercive and an apparent violation. Multhaup said, "Your Honor, you're putting the cart before the horse." The judge says, "No, I am not. And I will also indicate that the juror approached at her home is a court reporter for the LA Superior Court. Her job is literally to take down words accurately and be clear on the meaning of those words. So I take great stock in what she put down, the order of what took place, and the words that were said." Judge Olmedo shot back, "My God, what are the chances that the juror is a court reporter?" That's amazing. Okay, after the hearing ended, the lawyer representing the Jane Does in their civil lawsuit against Danny Masterson and the Church of Scientology asked the judge for a court order maintaining the sealing of everything that was filed under seal during the criminal trial. He said the worry was that other identifying information might fall into the wrong hands. Judge Olmedo said she wasn't sure where everything stood amid the appeal, but urged the lawyer file a written application. Remember, guys, Danny Masterson, the Church of Scientology, and David Miscavige are still co-defendants in a lawsuit against them brought by a number of Danny Masterson's victims and some of their family members for the harassment and the intimidation and the fair game tactics they've been subjected to since coming forward publicly. And this is why you see this inappropriate and unethical, in violation of a judge's order, which is law, sharing of information between the criminal defense team and the civil defense team. And that's because the civil defense team for Danny Masterson is literally working in conjunction with David Miscavige's and the Church of Scientology's civil defense teams. And that's why you have all these shenanigans, and that's why things are getting unbelievably messy, and Scientology is just being humiliated every step of the way, if you ask me. I'm here for it all day. I'm glad this stuff is getting exposed and coming to light. They did have even a surprise guest when I said there was a lot of attention for this hearing. They did have a surprise guest at the prosecutor's table, which was the Deputy Attorney General overseeing Danny Masterson's appeal. The judge had asked the DAG if she had anything she wanted to say, and she said, "No, Your Honor, just here observing." And let me see if I have any other. By the way, really weird thing that's been happening. The last couple times, SHAWN HOLLEY and Jane Doe 3 have been in the same courtroom together. SHAWN HOLLEY gets handsy with Jane Doe 3. It's almost like some of Diddy's tactics are rubbing off on SHAWN HOLLEY, making some unwanted physical contact with some victims. SHAWN HOLLEY, you might want to check yourself. Rubbing up on Jane Doe 3. It's definitely not appreciated. And a lot of people observed it. I know you watch these videos, so just wanted to throw that out there. Keep your hands to yourself, SHAWN HOLLEY. This is not a white party. This is not Diddy's mansion. This is a respectable courtroom. And yeah, keep your hands to yourself, basically. Let me see. What else do we have here? All right, guys. I think that's it as far as my commentary. Let's look at some of the starred comments here. Hi PSI 11. So I guess it's worth losing the jobs for Scientology. I doubt Danny's paying his own bills at this point, or maybe he has more money than we know. Maybe. Susie Q, Linda, listen. Yeah, that's what it sounded like on the Ring doorbell. Linda, listen. Kenny Adcox, somebody need to go to jail for this. Yeah, I mean, this type of stuff, I don't think anyone's going to go to jail for this, but it would be nice to see some disciplinary action come down from the state bar and also from the state agency that oversees private investigators. CO Belf, good to see you. When I worked for a court system, judges would routinely tell jurors at the end of the trials that lawyers might contact them for feedback, but they had no obligation to speak with them. That's right. And I believe that was part of Judge Olmedo's reasoning for saying that any attempts to contact the jurors should have gone through the court and the judge, because the jurors already had an opportunity to say if they wanted to speak to the defense team and they had said no. So that's kind of the same point you're making there. Fucktose Intolerant is an amazing screen name. I believe my name says it all when it comes to my thoughts on that woman. There you go. Lydia Von Stretchclaw, I really like this judge. Beck says they won't lose their licenses. They'll have disciplinary action and maybe suspensions, but no disbarments. I think that is perfectly reasonable prediction. Carol Ricks, lawyers need to be held accountable. Blind Hog searching for Acorn. Contacting jurors is definitely standard by both the prosecution and the defense. What does the order sealing the juror identity actually say? Well, Blind Hog, I don't have that document here, but I have discussed it in some previous videos, and the judge has actually addressed that same objection that was given by Eric Multhaup and Cliff Gardner in their affidavits. And the affidavits are publicly available, so you can see them. Terry Morgan, what do the attorneys want to talk to the jurors about? Oh, you know what? That question just reminded me of another thing in my notes here. So according to the jurors, the investigator was asking them questions designed to uncover juror misconduct. They had been doing one of these tactics where, well, you see this on TV and in the movies, where a police interrogator will be questioning someone and they'll basically say that someone else has already spilled the beans about this. And is there anything you want to tell me about that? And questions were being asked about jurors inappropriately looking up information online. And they were trying to get to the bottom of that. There was apparently also some questions about the interaction that me and Leah Remini had with two people that were sent to the courtroom from Scientology, working for Scientology's Stand League, that at the time, Masterson's attorneys tried to ask for a mistrial because a few of the jurors had heard this conversation / kerfluffle in the hallway before they went down in the elevator. So there was some questions being asked about that, but mostly it was trying to get jurors to mention things that could be juror misconduct. And in today's hearing, Danny Masterson's appellate lawyers actually were sort of forced to say out loud, I don't know why they had to say this, but they said, no, after investigation, we found no evidence of juror misconduct, and that will not be part of the appeal. So that was interesting. Okay, let's see. Marilyn says, but your honor, my pearls. Thank you, Marilyn. Vegan 3, they're trying to create dirt to give Danny a reason to appeal. Bingo, exactly. Kitty 1838, I hope the other lawyers are seeing this, that this is not acceptable and be charged for this. Thank you, Kitty. Abigail, Scientology is under fire. Hopefully they get what they deserve. Absolutely. Belinda Scott, so Masterson is not declared an SP. Belinda, this has been one of my my number one items since Danny Masterson was convicted. I'm just trying to get a single Scientologist to even tell me that Danny Masterson should be declared if he's not already, and I've never been able to. I've never been able to get a single piece of evidence, anecdotal or otherwise, that Danny Masterson is declared. I do have evidence that Danny Masterson's family is still in touch with him, which is circumstantial evidence that Danny Masterson is not declared an SP. Danny Masterson is a convicted violent serial rapist and Scientologist in good standing. And that will be my position until I get any evidence to the contrary. Jane, Catching Alive. Welcome, Jane. Good to have you here. CO Bilf, I heard Philip Cohen was wearing a burgundy 3-piece. Yes, indeed. Vegan 3 it's the old LRH. Have you stopped beating your wife? Yes, I don't think LRH invented that line of questioning, but I do get your point. All right, guys, that's all I have on this. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right in